Hello viewers and welcome to yet another commentated match of Warhammer 40,000 Conquest played out over OCTGN. In today's game, we're going to be seeing a Dark Eldar mirror match. It's going to be Packmaster Kith versus Packmaster Kith as papakhann and darbredshow both clash in an attempt to make it to the top 4 of the 4th season of Sam Mann's Warhammer 40k Conquest OCTGN online competitive league. So both of our players are going to be playing one of the strongest warlords in the game, if not the strongest warlord, and they're taking a moment to assess their opening hands here. So as they're in the process of doing that, looks like papakhann indicates that he's going to keep his opening hand, and the same thing goes for darbredshow. So just some horrific things in both players' hands in assessing papakhann here. So Rick has in his opening hand a Chimera Den, the signature attachment which allows you to actually at any point you'd like strategically relocate your Chimera tokens to just completely pick apart your opponent. So we'll definitely have to see if this makes a tremendous bit of difference for him, but the initiative token happens to be in the hands of papakhann. He puts out a Bloodied Reavers to planet number 1, and it seems as though he's allied with Chaos. So he's got a couple of raids in his hand. He could steal resources. He could use those to fund those Slith mercenaries, so deprive his opponent of resources, put out those very cheap economy-friendly units, and then just make sure that his opponent can't steal those. And then with Chaos Fanatics here, that's going to be another fantastic 2-command icon option, and just allow him a fantastic fair few early game effects here. But in assessing darbredshow's hand, we see that darbredshow puts out a Siren Zithlex to planet number 2, which is answered by that Chimera Den from papakhann. So Siren Zithlex serves to exhaust any unit deployed to her planet, and in checking out the remainder of darbredshow's hand here, he's got a raid of his own, he's got a Clavex War Leader, but it's entirely possible he might be a little bit resource starved. We also happen to see an Archon's Palace, so a very powerful, unique support of darbredshow's own, which serves to either basically nullify either cards or resource bonuses fixed to any one planet. So a Rogue Trader to planet number 5 for darbredshow, which is mirrored opposite by a Chaos Fanatics for papakhann. So that 2-command nicely trumps the Rogue Trader, and then that prevents 2 cards and a resource for darbredshow. So Archon's Palace comes out, hits the table. Both players are quickly running out of resources here. We see papakhann has 2 resources, 4 cards, relative to darbredshow's 1 resource and 4 cards. So are we going to see a couple copies of Slith mercenaries? I can only imagine, and this is just an incredibly powerful early game play here. We could even see, after this other Slith mercenaries potentially gets played out, a raid played to steal that 1 remaining resource from darbredshow. So, Slith Mercenaries is played out to planet number 4. It looks as though we see another copy of Slith Mercenaries put out to planet number 3. Darbredshow has at this point passed, and now we see that copy of Raids. That's going to be 1 resource, 1 card for papakhann, and 0 resources, 4 cards for darbredshow. In assessing our opening layout of planets, planet number 1 is going to be Aatrox Prime, which basically blasts an HQ or adjacent planet for 1 damage. Ossus 4 is planet number 2, which steals a resource. Planet 3 is Karnath, which activates the battle ability of any other planet. Very important is going to be Taurus, planet number 4, which rewards the player that has a lower unit total by allowing them the option of getting 3 cards or 3 resources. That's definitely going to be a interesting destination for darbredshow in particular, since his unit total is a little bit lower at present. And then Eloith is planet number 5, which is the tutor the top 3 cards of your deck for any 1 card that you'd like. In assessing our planet type icons, it looks like we could see a material victory as early as planet number 4, so Taurus could be either player's victory condition, and then not too long thereafter, we could see a blue technology victory at planet number 5. But if papakhann manages to get enough Chimera tokens into play, we could very well see this Chimera Den potentially result in the assassination of darbredshow's Bredshow's Packmaster Kith. So both players are currently deciding where exactly they'd like to send their warlords. The initiative token happens to be in papakhann's hand, and therefore I can't really imagine that Darbredshow is going to be sending Packmaster Kith to planet number 1. I definitely think that in assessing unit total, we've got 5 units at present for papakhann. We've got only 3 units for Darbredshow, so Taurus would be an interesting destination for sure. It looks as though papakhann is going to pick planet number 2 to try to kill off this Siren Zithlex here. And then Darbredshow, definitely not to my surprise, goes to Taurus. So in regard to winning command struggles, it looks like it's going to work out pretty favorably for papakhann, but at the same time, this Archon's Palace put out by Darbredshow is going to nicely nullify either the cards or resources here. So I'll be curious to see if Darbredshow goes for the card choke or resource, just because papakhann only has 1 resource, 1 card. So let's see how this breaks down. At the present moment, Darbredshow is only threatening winning command at 1 single planet, and it does not happen to be the planet where the rogue trader is present. So how are we going to see Archon's Palace? This is going to be a great opportunity for Kith to try to kill off Siren Zithlex before our players end up... Okay, so it looks as though the Archon's Palace picked the Elowith planet to deny 2 cards to papakhann, but it's still going to be quite a bit of economic influx for our first Packmaster Kith player here. So looks like that's going to be done. Darbredshow's going to get his 1 card, his 1 resource. Papakhann gets 2 cards and 4 resources. We happen to see that Darbredshow is allied with Eldar, which is, I believe, a little bit more conventional for Packmaster Kith. She's got powerful abilities like this Warlock Destructor here, just fantastic value, but we can see card effects like Warp Storm for papakhann, which could potentially allow him to just annihilate an infinite number of Chimera tokens and then use the Chimera Den to shift in his own Chimera and just do some serious damage. So I would definitely say that regardless of this early game economy here, things are looking very good for papakhann. I just think the Chaos Dark Eldar is better against Kith than would be Kith and Eldar. But Aatrox Prime, the battle is going to be won. It's going to be 1 damage successfully dealt out to Siren Zithlex. In regard to shields, all that we've got is Raid. It's going to be a 2 shield icon card. The initiative token is going to be in papakhann's hand at our planet number 2 here, and it's going to be 1 resource on the line. So papakhann is definitely going to win this, well, definitely going to want to win this battle, definitely going to want to kill off Siren Zithlex, and of course, stealing a resource from his opponent is not going to be unwelcome. Packmaster Kith takes a swing prior to the Chimera token doing so, which is an interesting choice. I'm thinking, okay, so Siren Zithlex is outright destroyed, and because that Chimera token is ready, that means that the Den is going to be able to conveniently relocate it, likely to deal out a little bit of damage to Packmaster Kith, or potentially kill off this enemy Chimera token. And Warp Storm, I can only imagine that we'll hold on to that, but who knows? Between the Slith Mercenary and this Chimera, that could be some pretty decent early game pressure on the opponent's Packmaster Kith, and with or without this Warp Storm, that could, I suppose, potentially be a bloodying. If it weren't for this raid here, I think that would be much more possible. But we're going to see battle erupt at Taurus. It's going to be the initiative in the hands of Packmaster Kith. We see a Chimera token swing. Are we going to see that raid discarded as shields? We could have the Slith Mercenary attack Kith, we could have Warp Storm, then we could have the Chimera token swing in. So let's kind of see how this breaks down, but we do see that raid, so the Chimera token manages to deal no damage whatsoever. Now, is the Slith Mercenary going to attack? We see Darbredshow has no resources whatsoever. Papakhann is at 6 resources, but only 2 cards relative to Darbredshow's those 5 cards. So that Slith Mercenaries indeed takes a swing at Packmaster Kith, and is Kith going to shield? I can't imagine we would... Okay, so we do see 2 damage assigned. I assume it's ultimately going to go through, and if planets 6 and 7 don't end up being Iridial, this could just be incredibly dangerous to potentially result in a very early bloodying of Kith, or even an assassination of Kith. So the Slith Mercenaries is about to get smacked by Packmaster Kith. It's destroyed, and now are we going to see that Warp Storm or not? I suppose, personally, I would save it and just use this Chimera Den, potentially just to deal a little bit of additional damage to Kith there. So we do see the Chimera Den used. It's going to be just a great opportunity to, I presume, attack Kith, or... well, I would imagine the Chimera token will just simply sit there, since papakhann knows full well that he can use this Warp Storm basically whenever he'd like. So the Chimera token does indeed swing at Kith. Are we going to see Raid used as shields or not? My personal playstyle is to definitely kind of push my luck, not really shield until the very last moment, and it seems as though Darbredshow plays similarly, so Packmaster Kith only has 2 hit points remaining. That early game Chimera Den is just incredibly nasty here, and since papakhann managed to win a red material icon, if he can win Karnath, if he can win Taurus, then that is potentially going to be okay. So we actually see that Warp Storm now, so it's going to be reducing unit count to a grand total of 3 for papakhann and 2 for Darbredshow. So now we see that 2 shield icon card. So just imagine how incredibly nasty that would have been had that raid not been an option there. But Darbredshow's Chimera token is outright destroyed. Packmaster Kith still has 2 hit points remaining. Packmaster Kith is going to have the option to trigger Taurus. I'm sure papakhann doesn't appreciate seeing that, but let's see what exactly happens. Is it going to be 3 resources or 3 cards? I am a little bit inclined to go the resource route myself. If I were Darbredshow, he's got that Warlock Destructor, Incubus Warrior, Murder of Razor Wings, and the incredibly nasty Clavex Warleader is a whopping 4 resources to put into play. So that is going to be very, very difficult to afford if all you're going off of is just your HQ resources each and every turn here. So what are you going to pick, Darbredshow? papakhann only has a Void Pirate left. He definitely wants to try to win Karnath. He probably couldn't care too much about Ossus 4, apart from just that resource choke type effect. But Taurus is going to be absolutely integral. He's going to want to make sure that his opponent can't pin that down the following turn. But between Karnath and between Taurus, Karnath could activate Taurus, so it's going to be a little bit difficult for him to try to defend against both of those planets. So I would imagine that he's going to want to try to draw some Kith's Chimera Masters to try to generate a token with Kith, to relocate those tokens, bloody Kith, just because I think Kith has already been down. Well, I guess Darbredshow's only used 1 2-shield icon card, but Darbredshow does end up reeling in resources, and that's going to bring us to our HQ phase, so I'm deadly curious to see what exactly our players are going to reel in regard to cards, just because I think papakhann is going to want those Chimera Masters, and Darbredshow is probably going to want some cheap command units just to prevent some sort of big economy disparity developing. But let's see what happens. Okay, so our command phase comes and goes. papakhann's now to 7 resources, 3 cards. He happened to get a copy of Clavex Warleader of his own, which is never really a bad thing to see. And he also happened to get a copy of Suffering, which is -2 attack to attached unit, but it's also very important to shields. And now he's definitely going to want to try to push for cards. We see a Murder of Razor Wings played out by Darbredshow, and that's going to be a random card discarded. We ended up seeing the Void Pirate, so, you know, that kind of hurts because he wants as much card draw as he could get, but at the same time, I'm sure he's happy to be holding on to the other options in his hand here. So this Murder of Razorwings is kind of annoying because it basically just threatens the first planet. The initiative token is in the hands of darbredshow, so even if he doesn't send any other units to the first planet, he's basically at risk of winning the battle at that planet, doing that whole one resource steal or resource token swap, unless we maybe see an opportunistic Chimera swing in, but then you'd need to shield the Chimera. It just basically presents papakhann with kind of a difficult choice to make here. So maybe he's going to have to forego the first planet. So definitely darbredshow's not out of this one yet. So it looks as though papakhann has already passed. We see a Warlock Destructor played out to the first planet as well. So that's kind of an interesting choice that he wants the first planet that much. I guess he's really just interested in that ability, but this is going to be quite a few resources for this Warlock Destructor here, and if papakhann can keep up just how well he's doing financially, if he can keep kind of choking his opponent of resources, all right, looks like darbredshow actually takes control of these Slith mercenaries here. So that is very interesting. I'm sure papakhann is not thrilled by any means to see that. And in assessing the remainder of the hand here for darbredshow, he's got another Slith mercenaries of his own. And it looks like things are potentially going to be turned around here. So we could definitely see papakhann potentially win some battles at Karrnath and Taurus, and he could very well take the game, but darbredshow is just making a fantastic bit of a comeback here and just doing great in a command sense. So he's not only going to be potentially winning command at planet 1, 3, and 4, but he's got this Archon's Palace, which could serve to deprive Kith, papakhann's Kith, of resources or cards wherever it is that she decides to touch down, whether that's Karrnath, whether that's Taurus. I definitely don't see her going to planet number 1. So I suppose if I had to choose, I would think potentially Karrnath. So papakhann is trying to figure out where exactly to go. Packmaster Kith on darbredshow's side of the table is definitely in danger of being outright murdered. Papakhann chooses to go to Taurus, planet number 3, which is the ultimate victory condition for papakhann. And where exactly is darbredshow going to go? Planet number 2, so Karrnath here. So pretty interesting, and a bit of a shame for darbredshow that there's a little bit of redundancy there. So Packmaster Kith is going to be going to a planet where she already had 2 command icons. So the only command struggle we're going to see one for papakhann is going to be at planet number 3. It's going to be either 1 card or 1 resource. That Archon's Palace is basically going to negate that. Both Kiths ended up generating a Chimera token. Papakhann certainly has a wealth of resources with which to purchase back some of these Slith mercenaries, but darbredshow does have the initiative at planet number 2, so if the Slith mercenaries is purchased at planet number 2 by papakhann, darbredshow is going to have an opportunity to attack and potentially kill that off before it can do anything. So it's going to be a total of 3 cards and 4 resources for darbredshow, and it looks as though papakhann is being very effectively card starved. So papakhann has 8 resources. He's got that Klavex Warleader, that Suffering. Papakhann does decide to buy that Slith mercenaries. Looks like he's probably going to push for a bloodying of Packmaster Kith here. So let's see. In assessing unit totals, we've got 4, 5, 6 for darbredshow, and we've got 4, 5 in total for papakhann. So it looks like things are not going to work out. So it's 5 for papakhann and 6 for darbredshow. So let's say If Kith uses her combat turn to retreat, if this Chimera token ends up killing off the Slith mercenaries, I guess we could then see the Chimera Den move in and kill the opposite Chimera token, and then that should be the ability to trigger Taurus. So I suppose that would be a nice little shift, and then papakhann could get some much needed cards. Ossus 4 is going to be triggered, so that's going to be +1 resource for darbredshow, -1 resource for papakhann. The Warlock Destructor and Murder of Razorwings managed to capture that strong point icon and planet entirely uncontested, and now it's going to be Kith's or the Chimera token's opportunity to attack. I can only imagine that Kith is presumably going to be retreating, or will she press her luck, or will we see a card effect? I didn't take a moment to assess what Kith has in hand, but Kith drew a copy of Archon's Terror, which is going to rout any non-unique unit. It could be used on a token in a ridiculous circumstance. Also a Superiority, which is a 1 shield card, and then a Suffering, which is a 2 shield card. So things are still looking okay for darbredshow. A victory condition is nowhere near. I suppose the earliest we could see is our soon-to-be planet number 4 for darbredshow. So, I suppose combat does finally erupt. We see the Chimera token take a swing at the Slith mercenaries, and I suppose Kith has yet to retreat. So, are we going to see that Suffering used as shields to try to preserve that Slith mercenaries? Note that we still have that Klavex Warleader, which could potentially ambush in and bloody Kith, whether or not it actually kills a unit. We do see a copy of Suffering discarded by papakhann to save that life of the Slith mercenaries here. And what exactly is going to happen at this planet? We could see an Archon's Terror controlled by darbredshow, and I guess darbredshow at some point managed to get a Klavex Warleader of his own. So he also has a sufficient number of resources to ambush that unit into play, which he could do just to prevent papakhann from winning this battle here, just because he's going to want to continue doing that whole card choke thing. So the Slith mercenaries takes a swing at Packmaster Kith. We end up seeing a Superiority, so he's definitely wanting to push it just as close as he can. That's a 1 shield value card. Kith has 1 hit point remaining. Now it's going to be Kith's opportunity to attack. So we could see the Chimera Den move in, potentially threaten the bloodying of Kith, but I think that darbredshow is just trying to get as many resources and cards out of his opponent as he possibly can. So things are very interesting here. That Slith mercenaries is finally destroyed through a swing of Kith, and now it's going to be up to both players to show actions. Darbredshow's indicating no actions, but are we going to see papakhann play? Okay, so papakhann uses the Chimera Den, that token shifts over, and are we going to see an Archon's Terror? What exactly are we going to see? There's still that copy of Suffering, there's still that Archon's Terror, and there's also this Klavex Warleader to make absolute certain that the planet is not won. So, we see Suffering employed as shields, and Packmaster Kith on darbredshow's side of the table is kind of going through shield cards fast and furious, but it's thus far been pretty effective. So are we going to see papakhann take a risk? Are we going to see a Klavex Warleader that could potentially be Archon's Terror? Darbredshow indicates no actions whatsoever. So what are we going to see from papakhann? Is he going to play things safely? He's got 5 resources and only 1 card. Darbredshow, it looks like things are going very well for him. He's got 6 resources, 4 cards. papakhann indicates no action, so it's going to be the start of a new combat round, and the initiative is going to be in the hands of, I suppose, Packmaster Kith. I guess the initiative is going to be in the hands of darbredshow. So, the retreat, it's going to be up to darbredshow. What exactly are they going to do? papakhann indicates that he's going to stay, but it's really darbredshow's choice to decide that first. So, what is bredshow gonna do? Certainly, Kith is in a little bit of jeopardy. I guess darbredshow indicates he's done, so Kith is going to stay. Kith has the opportunity to attack, so we see that Chimera token take a swing at the opposite Chimera token. There's not going to be anything that will do, so it's going to be destroyed. Is papakhann going to overextend? Is he going to invest in that Klavex Warleader? I guess let's see. Otherwise, he's just throwing away a Chimera token completely nonsensically. So are we going to see that action? We do see the Klavex Warleader, and that is an awful mistake. I'm sad to say, because we immediately see the Archon's Terror, and that serves to exhaust and rout that Klavex Warleader, and that leaves papakhann in a very dangerous situation indeed. So that's going to be 1 resource, 0 cards, relative to 4 resources and 3 cards. Packmaster Kith is going to have successfully defended Karrnath, and that means that Darbredshow will potentially have the option of activating any battle ability that she'd like. So in assessing unit counts, we've got 4 units in total for papakhann, and we've got a grand total of looks like 6 units for Darbredshow. So it seems Eloith is going to be, or no, perhaps Planum is the targeted, okay. So it looks like Planum is going to be moving the Warlock Destructor to Taurus. So a very wise move there. Taurus is the potential victory condition for papakhann, so it's going to be good to have that, albeit expensive, Warlock Destructor sitting there as a formidable 3/4. And I believe once we get to Taurus, that's going to be the initiative token in the hands of Darbredshow. So the Warlock Destructor could potentially kill off the Bloodied Reavers before it has the opportunity to attack for 4. And I suppose I actually forgot we've still got combats ongoing, and that means that Packmaster Kith is going to be able to take a swing, deal 2 damage to that Warlock Destructor, but the Warlock Destructor is likely going to be able to kill off this Bloodied Reavers, or at least wound Packmaster Kith, since there's no shielding to be done. So are we going to see the Bloodied Reavers destroyed? I suppose not. Packmaster Kith is going to take 3 points of damage, and in assessing unit total, presuming the Warlock Destructor here is going to die. Oh, ouch. So we see Darbredshow's copy of the Klavex Warleader touchdown on the table, and my, oh my, have the tables suddenly turned. So the Klavex Warleader is immediately going to be dealing out 3 points of damage to Packmaster Kith, and that means that papakhann's Kith is immediately bloodied. I was thinking that we were wanting the Warlock Destructor to just deal some damage to Kith and then be destroyed, and then potentially bring the unit count down to a more agreeable number. So that would have been 4 units for papakhann. It would have been, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It still would have been too many units for, well, I guess it would have been, yeah, just 1 too many units for Darbredshow there. But that is an incredibly nasty effect. So it looks like Packmaster Kith on papakhann's side of the table is outright bloodied. We saw the Bloodied Reavers retreat, and that is incredibly nasty here. So whether or not Darbredshow keeps paying to keep this Warlock Destructor around, my god, is that a nasty effect. So even without the Chimera Den, all that Darbredshow is going to have to do is just simply kill Packmaster Kith at this point, and without Kith's ability to generate a Chimera token, that signature support isn't looking too terribly useful at all. But papakhann could potentially still manage to bloody and kill Packmaster Kith if he can play things carefully. So papakhann didn't end up getting anything too tremendously useful. We see his opening play is going to be a Murder of Razorwings to planet number 1. Darbredshow does indicate that he's going to pay for his Warlock Destructor. And what exactly is our random card discard going to be? We've got a couple of just great economy units. Siren Zithlex is always fantastic to see. And then a promotion for all the more added just economy benefit, and then a copy of Suffering is always just incredible for shielding. So what is that random card discard going to be? The only other card that we saw for papakhann is not a shield card, which is going to make combat math incredibly easy for Darbredshow here. Looks like the random card discard ended up being a copy of Incubus Warrior. Definitely not a tremendously painful thing to let go of. So papakhann's going to be able to do this Archon's Palace of his own, try to do a little bit of card or resource starvation. but it's definitely an uphill battle for this point. I mean, like, think that wherever Kith goes, she's going to be bringing a Clavex Warleader and Bloodied Reavers with her, and they're going to be arriving exhausted, and Packmaster Kith on Darbredshow's side of the table happens to have just a lot of different units that can deal out quite a bit of damage, so it doesn't look like it's going to be a good option for papakhann to go to Karrnath or Taurus, so it's looking as though papakhann is going to forfeit a victory condition down the line there. Eluith isn't still... I guess it's an okay target relative to how everything else is going for papakhann, because if he gets a blue technology icon there or at Planum, he could potentially win the game. Our new 5th planet is Iridial, which removes all the damage from a target unit, so that might be a desirable destination for Darbredshow's Kith. Certainly this Murder of Razorwings isn't going to be the end of the world if that gets deposited somewhere down the line. Papakhann takes control of a Slith Mercenaries, so maybe we could see him go to Eluith here. Darbredshow does only have one green strongpoint icon, so we could potentially see papakhann forfeit Karrnath and forfeit Taurus in going for a much longer victory condition here, but it's going to be up to Darbredshow to try to kind of best papakhann. So both of our players are down to no resources. We have 0 cards for papakhann, 2 cards for Darbredshow, and things are definitely looking pretty favorable in regard to just affording a wealth of different options for Darbredshow here, so a great economy. I would not be surprised if both Warlords end up going to planet number 3, but I guess actually we see both Warlords go to planet number 1, so very interesting, but this is looking like it could be pretty nasty for papakhann, just because Kith is going to have to retreat pretty quickly, otherwise just risk a bloodying. But in regard to economy, both players are going to have an Archon's Palace here, and I'm deadly curious to see where exactly they're going to target. It looks as though papakhann has targeted Eluith, so he's going to... I suppose I'm not sure why that is targeted. I think quite wisely our players are deciding to do command struggle resolution 1 at a time. So starting with planet number 1, it looks like we've got 2 command icons versus 0 command icons. So that is going to go to Darbredshow, and it's going to be 1 card, 1 resource for him. So he'll be able to draw and accumulate that. We see no actions from papakhann, so that is resolved. It's going to be a 2 shield icon card for Darbredshow. And then Taurus is now on the line. That's going to be another card, another resource. So Darbredshow manages to win that. That's going to be a copy of Void Pirate for him to... I suppose it's definitely not great to see just an army unit like that one. Not terribly useful for command. So we see Eluith is going to be negated. The card bonus is going to be negated on behalf of, papakhann is going to be deprived of those 2 cards. So that's a pretty nasty blow there. And I suppose, come to think of it, we definitely should have seen that Archon's Palace used at some point, because otherwise I guess it's just not doing anything at all, which seems like quite the silly waste. So going through the planets one by one, papakhann did not choose to use his Archon's Palace, so a little bit of a suboptimal play there, perhaps, but I suppose, things being as it is, we're going to be entering combat, and it's going to be 2 Chimera tokens and Siren Zithlex, all attacking for 2. At the first planet, we see a Murder of Razorwings take a swing at the 5 damage Packmaster Kith. We see a promotion played out to block that damage. And I suppose, are we going to see a retreat or not from this Packmaster Kith here? We've got two shield icon cards in Darbredshow's hand, so I would imagine he's going to kind of press his luck. Everything is very clearly out on the table for papakhann. There's no resources, no cards, no tricks. There's no Chimera to relocate. So I can only imagine that, I suppose, well, gosh, we could see Darbredshow try to deal a bunch of damage to Packmaster Kith, or potentially just kill off some of these Dark Eldar units. Right, so he's going to take a swing. Kith is going to be able to quite conveniently kill the Bloodied Reavers here. And now it's going to be, I suppose, up to papakhann. He has to retreat with his Warlord, or otherwise there's a sufficient amount of attack power to kill his copy of Packmaster Kith. So what is Kith going to do? Is she going to retreat, or is she going to do something silly like try to kill off a Chimera token? Granted, I suppose papakhann has no clue that there are these nasty 2 shield icon cards. So Packmaster Kith is going to retreat, and now it's just going to be up to Darbredshow to absolutely pick apart the opposition sitting at this planet. The Clavex War Leader is going to be dealt 2 points of damage by this Chimera token, and that's going to leave an additional Chimera token and a Siren Zithlex with which to just absolutely wreck the opposition there. So the Clavex War Leader is destroyed. Siren Zithlex is going to destroy that Murder of Razor Wings, and that means that Karnath is going to be able to be triggered by Darbredshow. So if Darbredshow wasn't already doing well enough already, he's got the option of triggering Eloith or Planum or Iridial with which to remove damage. So will we see Packmaster Kith healed to 0, or will we see Eloith used? Will we see Planum relocate a unit? The battle here is going to be won by Darbredshow. That's going to put him at 1 icon of each type, and now things are just looking absolutely miserable for papakhann. So just in assessing unit counts, Taurus is going to be disappearing from play next round. I suppose a victory condition could come as early as, Planum for Darbredshow if he doesn't manage to kill papakhann. So Iridial is the chosen trigger, and that's going to be Packmaster Kith healed from 5 points of damage down to 0. So just an incredibly nasty blow there. In assessing both of our players, looks like papakhann has 37 cards remaining in deck. Darbredshow has 35 cards, but certainly Darbredshow's set up incredibly well for just a continued economy sweep throughout the remainder of the game here. This Chimera Den, I was very much expecting an incredibly early victory on behalf of papakhann, but it looks like by playing a slightly longer, less aggressive game, things are definitely paying off very well for Darbredshow here, and as soon as he happens to stumble across a copy of his own Chimera Den, that could potentially be the game for papakhann, just because it's going to be each and every time using that first combat turn just to retreat, just to prevent yourself from losing the game. But for papakhann, we see a copy of Suffering, 1 copy of Incubus Warrior drawn during the HQ phase, as both players get 4 resource tokens and 2 cards. And for Darbredshow, we see a completely ineffectual, worthless copy of the Archon's Palace, but we see yet another 2 shield icon card, which is Raid. So there's a Void Pirate, there's the 2 Sufferings. There's definitely a lot of different nasty options here, so we see that Void Pirate put into play at Planum, which is potentially going to be 2 cards and 1 resource for him. The initiative token happens to be controlled by Darbredshow, and what, if anything, can Packmaster Kith do at this point to try to salvage this game? We do see that Incubus Warrior being played out, but where exactly is it going to go? It's going to go to Planum in order to trump that Void Pirates. That's going to block 2 cards and 1 resource for Darbredshow. And now the way that things are going to boil down is Darbredshow is going to basically have to win 2 additional technology icons. Is going to be the earliest victory condition. So Planum is going to be that option. So it looks as though Taurus is very well defended. Eloith could stand to be better defended. But both of our players are deciding what exactly they'd like to do. Darbredshow decides to take control of the Slith Mercenaries here at present planet number 2, and now papakhann is left with the option. Does he want to pass? Does he want to wrest control of the Slith Mercenaries? He decides that he himself is going to pass, and things are starting to look absolutely terrible for him. So what is he going to do? Darbredshow, it's going to be his action. He could play out a copy of Suffering on one of these units just to be able to play his copy of Raid, but that seems a little bit silly. He probably wants to conserve those 2 shield icon cards. So in regard to going into the command phase, I'm not really sure what, if anything, papakhann could come across that could make enough of a difference for him. I could certainly see Siren Zithlex being commit to Planum in order to kill off the opposing Incubus Warrior, in order to ultimately secure her victory condition. I could also see her going to a different planet, like planet number 2, just to ensure that a, tech icon ends up being one, but both of our players are going to have to decide. papakhann has made his decision, but let's see what we can expect from Darbredshow. Okay, so both of our players have at this point decided, and let's reveal those dials. Let's see where they go, and then let's slowly but surely reveal the results of these command struggles, bearing in mind that each player has access to an Archon's Palace. So let's flip these dials and see where our warlords have chosen. Okay, so in flipping our dials, looks like we've selected planet number 4 for papakhann's Packmaster Kith, so he's very much playing it safely to try to make sure he goes to the least likely destination to prevent himself from being outright killed. And then we see Darbredshow end up going to planet number 3. So it looks as though papakhann is going to target Elowith. I can only imagine he's going to pick the card bonus at that planet. And it's only going to be a single command struggle won at Iridial by papakhann's Packmaster Kith. So that, I will only imagine, is going to be the copy of Archon's Palace, serving to deprive that single card of papakhann here. So it looks as though it's going to be no income whatsoever for papakhann. He does happen to have a 2 shield icon card in hand, but that isn't probably going to be tremendously useful here. And Darbredshow, I mean, just look at the board here. It's going to be a grand total of 3 cards and 3 resources. So papakhann has 2 resources, 1 card, relative to Darbredshow's 5 resources and 7 cards. And things are just absolutely looking nightmarish here for papakhann. So we ended up seeing a copy of Archon's Terror, another Siren Zithlex for Darbredshow, and absolutely no additional tools for papakhann to try to win here. So there's going to be a battle at Taurus, which is going to be won entirely uncontested. So Taurus is going to be removed from the board, and that's going to be a fantastic catch-up opportunity, entirely stripped and removed from papakhann there. So if things weren't looking bad before, they're looking all but impossible now. I'm very interested to see when exactly we're going to see a concede or forfeit from papakhann, just because it's looking at this point like it's an uphill battle with a grade that's at such a steep incline. It's to the point where it's entirely insurmountable, but we're going to see a battle at planet number 3. The initiative, of course, is going to be in the hands of our Dark Eldar player. I guess that's, goes without saying, but it's going to be in the hands of Darbredshow. So we see a Chimera token take a swing at that Incubus Warrior, and it is outright killed, so he's holding on to that 2 shield icon card, and that's going to be yet another battle won. So we could see Planum move something along the lines of this Clavex Warleader to the same planet where Packmaster Kith happens to be present, and either the Clavex Warleader is going to potentially be able to kill Kith, or Kith is going to have to retreat, and then Iridial is going to be able to... Okay, so it looks like, well, let me flatter myself and say great minds think alike. So the Clavex Warleader is going to go to the same planet as Packmaster Kith. Darbredshow is not going to have the initiative at this planet, but is Kith, a 1/5 unit, going to simply retreat, or is Kith going to take a swing at the Clavex Warleader, bearing in mind that we see 3 2-shield icon cards here? And it's only going to be 2 swings before that Clavex Warleader is able to ultimately kill papakhann's Packmaster Kith. So we do see that retreat, and that means Iridial is going to be able to be triggered. We could see points removed from that Warlock Destructor. that is certainly, I think at this point, a 4 or 5 resource unit, but it's definitely done a little bit of good there. So that Warlock Destructor is entirely hail, and that's going to bring us to yet another command phase here. So the HQ phase is about to begin, and what exactly are we going to see? It'll be 4 cards and 2 resources for both of our players. Both of our players have indicated that there are no actions, and we end up seeing 2 cards, 4 resources for both players. Papakhann finally gets something decent. He gets a Kith's Chimera Masters, which is a command unit. It gives him a Chimera to relocate, and he also happened to come across a copy of Archon's Terror. However, to his dismay, Darbredshow has a copy of Archon's Terror of his own. He also happened to get a copy of Murder of Razorwings to do a random card discard, and whatever it is that he ends up discarding from Papakhann's hand, that's going to be basically golden here. So it's going to be 2 Archon's Terrors and a grand total of 3 shield icons and a whopping 8 resources for Darbredshow. So it looks as though the Kith's Chimera Masters was put out to planet number 2, where Siren Zithlex is sitting, and that means that the Chimera Masters and the Chimera token are going to just interplay exhausted by Siren Zithlex there. So it looks as though the token is actually... Yeah, let's see here. So the Chimera was put into play. It was not deployed, so it's basically immune to Siren Zithlex's ability. But we see that Murder of Razorwings touchdown on planet number 1, and that means there's going to be a random card discard. What exactly is it going to be? Papakhann has taken control of the Slith Mercenaries, and we've still got to see a random card discard, which ended up being a copy of Suffering. So it's once again going to be no shield cards whatsoever for Papakhann's Packmaster Kith. So he does happen to have that copy of Archon's Terror, but it's looking pretty tricky for him. I suppose Papakhann only has 1 tech and 1 material icon. Darbredshow wrests control of the Slith Mercenaries, and now are we going to see Papakhann take control of it again, only to have Darbredshow once again take control of it, or are we going to see Papakhann save basically his resources for this Archon's Terror? We see an Incubus Warrior played by Darbredshow, also to planet number 1. And looks like Darbredshow still needs basically a material or a strong point icon to win. So Eloith is nice to win by all means, but it's definitely not going to be deciding the game for him. So what are we going to see? Is Papakhann going to take control of his Slith Mercs, or is he going to pass? I believe that he has indeed actually passed. So in regard to sending Warlords, the least offensive location is going to be planet number 3, I think, for Papakhann's Packmaster Kith. He could use Archon's Terror to banish 1 unit there, but really anywhere that he goes, he's going to immediately have to retreat. I guess Papakhann goes to planet number 1, a bit of an interesting choice there, and then these Archon's Palaces are once again going to come into play. So it's going to be planet number 2 for Darbredshow. He has selected, Papakhann selected planet number 2 with his Archon's Palace. I would imagine that's going to be the card bonus to deprive Darbredshow of 2 cards, which he indeed confirms in our chat log, and it's going to be Archon's Palace depriving cards of Packmaster Kith at Eloith, our planet number 1. So it's going to be nothing whatsoever for Papakhann, and it's going to be a paltry single card for Darbredshow. So looked like it was a Kith's Chimera Masters, so still no signature support. We're going to see combat at planet number 1, and basically Papakhann is going to have to retreat as the very first action with Packmaster Kith, otherwise risking just being obliterated, or at the very least, Kith is going to have to chance not having herself be bloodied. But what exactly are we going to see? We saw the Chimera token relocate. Both players indicate they have no actions. The Incubus Warrior is the target of the Chimera token, and it's possible that we could have potentially seen Papakhann win the battle at this planet, but there's certainly just a tremendous glut of shield icon cards in Darbredshow's hand. So we see a copy of Archon's Terror that's going to be banishing that Incubus Warrior here, and now really all that we have to see is going to be a Slith Mercenaries and a Murder of Razorwings. But that still could be enough. Darbredshow has 3 total resources. That's enough for an Archon's Terror. We could see the Chaos Fanatics banished. We could see the Chimera token banished. The Slith Mercenaries, however, is going to take a swing at that Chaos Fanatics. That unit's going to be outright destroyed. And now what are we going to see? Is Packmaster Kith going to try to kill off the Murder of Razorwings, or are we going to see a retreat? I can only imagine that papakhann is just trying to be a little bit cheeky and press his luck here. So are we going to see a copy of Archon's Terror discarded as shields, or what exactly are we going to see? We see a Suffering discarded as shields, so interesting little choice there. But now that Murder of Razorwings is going to have free reign to kill off this Chimera token, and then it's going to be the Slith Mercenaries and or the Murder of Razorwings just potentially killing off papakhann's Packmaster Kith. So the Murder of Razorwings does ultimately take its swing to kill that Chimera, and now it's going to be the end of the combat round. Will we see a retreat from papakhann? Will we see a retreat by Darbredshow? I would assume we will not, just because he'll probably want to deal out as much damage as possible to the opponent's Packmaster Kith here, but definitely an interesting choice. There's no Klavex Warleader, only to be ambushed into play. Darbredshow indicates that he's going to stay, as does papakhann. The initiative token is in the hands of papakhann. He's got a 1/5 unit. He'll be able to swing, but we will see that shielded against, and then that's going to be 3 points of damage. All right, very well. So we finally see the GG called out by papakhann, so incredibly well-played game by both of our players today. Thank you to papakhann, and thank you to Darbredshow for allowing me to record this game. So a spectacular match, and what a hell of a turnaround. I did not think that Darbredshow had a hope in high hell of winning this game once I saw that Chimera Den touchdown, and once I thought of what papakhann could have done, but just an incredibly well-played game by both of our players, a fantastic match on both their counts. I was thinking that a, Dark Eldar Packmaster Kith mirror match might make for an interesting game, and by no means was I disappointed. So, congratulations to Darbredshow for winning the game today. That means he's going to advance to the top 4 of the 4th season of Sam Mann's Warhammer 40k Conquest Octagon WA Online Competitive League, but definitely some superb play by papakhann. So thank you once again to both of our players, and congratulations again to Darbredshow for advancing to the top 4. So thank you once again for watching, and as always, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you've not done so already, or if you are already subscribed, I encourage you as ever to share this content, as the more eyes there are on these videos, the more potential new players might end up witnessing and experiencing Conquest, and of course, all the more new players may ultimately serve to join our community. If at any point you'd like to get in touch with me, perhaps to have a game spectated, recorded, and commentated of your own, I definitely encourage you to get in touch with me through Twitter or on Facebook. And of course, if at any point you'd feel so inclined to donate $1 or $2 to me a month, simply to help me recur some of my file hosting and operating expenses, or otherwise perhaps to treat me to the digital equivalent of a cup of coffee, I'd be both flattered and humbled were you to visit my Patreon. But once again, I'll just say thank you so much for watching, and as always, be sure to check back in again soon for ever more Conquest LCG content to come.